Coming up on Wake Up NonStop Local, precursor for peace, celebrations as Israel and Hamas accept phase 1 of a peace deal in Gaza, when Hamas will release its hostages, and the next steps for a complete end to the war.
Also this morning, searching for answers. Moscow police finishing that investigation over this on-campus brawl at the U of I. What's next for prosecutors, and an update on the man who was placed into a medically induced coma.
And we're waking up about 30 minutes away from our official sunrise. Beautiful conditions today and tomorrow. Changes this weekend. Details coming up.
Also this morning, sour note, an historical artifact with deep roots to Spokane damaged in that break-in at the state capitol building.
Its century-long significance to the Lilac City coming up.
The trade show is free, Student Day on Friday is free, and the powwow from 6 to 9 on Friday is free, but the convention is not. In Spokane, I'm Noah Bolter, NonStop Local.
Wake up, you gotta rise to the sun, and here it comes, it's time to make the best of what you got to give. It's all about rising, and I wanna be there.
Well, here's a live look from the Western Wall in Israel this morning, as Israel and Hamas have both agreed to a phase 1 of a peace deal in Gaza, brokered by President Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's convening his government to sign off on it today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kalai Chalk.
And I'm Sam Adams. That first phase involving a pause to the fighting and the release of all hostages being held right now by Hamas. Israeli government now believes there are currently 20 hostages still alive. Now, once this deal is formally accepted, this ceasefire will immediately go into place, and Israeli troops will then withdraw from Gaza. Once the troops are completely withdrawn, there will be a 72-hour window for Hamas to release those hostages. That's expected to happen now by Sunday night or Monday, according to multiple reports.
People celebrated in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, a common place for families of hostages and supporters since the war started in that Hamas attack October 7, 2023. Meanwhile, families in the U.S. of those hostages were on the phone with President Trump, showing appreciation.
Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much. Blessed be the peacemakers.
God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
67,000 Palestinians have been killed in the 2-year war. This morning, there are still negotiations to be made, including who will lead Gaza moving forward. Next is rebuilding and allowing food and aid to the hundreds of thousands of people stranded and starving in the war-torn region. 6:33, let's get a live look outside, and a beautiful start to the day. You can see the sun rising in the east over Interstate 90, and it's just going to get better from here, at least for today.
I can't get over this weather forecast that we're about to have one last gasp of summertime weather before we really jump into fall. Let's jump in right now with Amy Rose, who's in for Jenny Power. You got a little bit of everything this week.
Yeah, you really do. And that usually, I feel like, is how it happens in the inland Northwest. It's summer and then it's fall and it's winter soon after that. Waking up this morning, temperatures are in the lower to mid 50s. Hint, these will be our high temperatures on Saturday and Sunday. So we're at 55 degrees right now in Spokane. Sunrise in about 25-ish minutes. 53 right now in Coeur d'Alene. Winds coming in from the east-northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour across the region. We'll continue to see these warm and windy or breezy conditions as we go through the day. Today it's 60 right now in Pullman, 54 in Orofino and Lewiston, 57 degrees in Deer Park, 51 in Ritzville. So a very mild start to our day, and that is just a sign of things to come. And again, those winds sustained at about 5 to 15 miles an hour. This is where they'll stay today. Maybe a gust, maybe a couple of gusts up to 20 miles an hour. But the main story will be those temperatures. Temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s for most of us. But again, enjoy today and tomorrow. We have big changes in the forecast this weekend. Those details coming up.
Continuing coverage right now on the South Hill Rapist Kevin Coe. Yesterday, we reported that he was living at an adult family home in Auburn in Western Washington. However, his sex offender registry lists an address in Federal Way.
KHQ NonStop Local has reached out to leaders in both cities for comment. And in an interview with Fox 13 from Seattle, the mayor said that she only learned Coe was living in her city from the media.
This is a person who was convicted of very violent crimes and is now being released into our community, and we had no idea, no contact from Department of Corrections, from the state, from the county where he was convicted or the county where he was released, and that is a travesty. We need to make sure that there is communication so that there is an opportunity to understand the full magnitude of the issue before it becomes a bigger issue.
The mayor also says she plans to do everything in her power to reverse the placement of Coe or find some other recourse.
Meantime, the communications director in Federal Way directing us to a previous statement from Mayor Jim Farrell. That statement reads, quote, "We do not have any say in the release of Kevin Coe, and we understand the sensitivity surrounding this matter. We acknowledge the community concerns regarding his potential placement in Federal Way. Mr. Coe is in his mid-70s and confined to a wheelchair. While this does not eliminate the possibility of re-offense, we are confident that his presence in Federal Way does not pose a significant public safety risk to our residents."
Now, Coe was sentenced and locked up for the last several decades, found guilty in one rape case, but suspected of being linked to more than 40 others in the late 70s and early 80s in Spokane. Moscow police say they've wrapped up the investigation on this fight on the University of Idaho campus that left a man in a coma. Police are now turning the case over to the Latah County Prosecutor's Office for review.
This video capturing the moments these two men started punching each other on Greek Row at the U of I. This was back on September 24th. Prosecutor's Office will now determine if charges are warranted. Police say everyone has been identified, but no one has been arrested. Meantime, we've also learned that the man who was placed into a medically induced coma from that fight is doing better.
He was put into that coma with a brain clot and significant injuries, but his father says he's been released from the hospital now and is recovering at home. New this morning, as protests continue at the Portland ICE facility, a panel of 3 appeals court judges is set to hear arguments regarding the temporary restraining order on the Oregon National Guard deployment to Portland.
It comes as the Trump administration is looking to deploy the National Guard across cities around the country right now. An attempt to deploy the California National Guard to Portland just last week was blocked by a lower court. In filings late Sunday, the administration filed to overturn that hold, which pauses deployment of National Guard troops from all states.
The panel issued an order yesterday allowing the 200 Oregon troops to remain federalized, even though they're not allowed to deploy. Today's hearings come on the heels of repeated attempts from President Trump to send National Guard troops to the ICE facility in Portland. Authorities have arrested a man in Florida accused of starting the Palisades fire in California that started January 7th and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses.
This part of a larger series of fires among the most destructive in the history of California. Investigators now announcing that this man, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, was working as an Uber driver at the time and believed that he lit that fire after dropping off a passenger in the Palisades. Now, he left the scene, but allegedly returned later to watch the fire burn, making multiple calls to 911.
Geolocation data for the 911 calls showed that he was standing above the fire in a clearing merely 30 feet from the blaze as it rapidly grew. Though homes and businesses cannot be rebuilt, this arrest, we hope, will provide a measure of justice to all those who were impacted.
Now, he faces a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison under the charge of malicious destruction. The estimated cost of the damage from the LA wildfire sitting around $250 billion.
New information on the break-in at the Washington State Capitol building in Olympia. We're now learning the man who broke in damaged a 19th century piano that has deep historical ties to Spokane. According to the Washington State Historical Society, the piano was built in 1893 and then came from Germany to Spokane in 1938 with a man named Hans Moldenhauer, who founded the Spokane Conservatory.
Now, following his death back in 1987, this piano was gifted to the state of Washington in 1990. It's been prominently on display for more than 3 decades now in the Capitol building. The assessment now revealing this instrument was suffering from light smoke damage and cosmetic damage to its front, and a bench that accompanied it was destroyed. The suspect, meantime, Gunnar Schubert, has since been released without bail. Taking a live look this morning from downtown Spokane, this is the Bing Crosby Theater, where starting Friday, tomorrow, Spokane will be honoring the famed singer and actor Bing Crosby with a two-day celebration. The city is permanently renaming a part of Sprague Avenue to Bing Crosby Way.
And Bing's daughter, Mary Crosby, will be there. Mayor Lisa Brown is also making a declaration announcing October 10th, Bing's Day. And then on Saturday, children's book author Lauren Harris will introduce her latest book. It's called Bing Himself, the story of Bing Crosby, the world's first multimedia star. That'll happen at the Crosby House Museum at Gonzaga at 10 a.m. Well, more than 150 Native vendors from across the U.S. are in Spokane for the National Indian Education Association Annual Convention and Trade Show.
All right, it's being held right now at the Spokane Convention Center. That's where we find our nonstop local reporter, Noah Bolter, who's live this morning.
Sam Kalai, you mentioned over 150 vendors from across the United States, and I found one that is very, very interesting. Take a look right here. You'll see it says Native Teaching Aids, and over here they have games from card games to board games. One of them, this one's called Go Hunt, and if you look down here, it's a native version of Go Fish, and the idea, again, educating the next generation. Now, the trade show itself is free to the public, while the convention is not. Well, that's except for tomorrow on Student Day, when youth grades 6th through post-secondary can get in for free. There will be interactive sessions, cultural activities, peer connection, and advice on advocating for yourself inside and outside of the classroom. Event organizers say they want every student to walk away with their chin held high, feeling empowered to pursue their dreams and properly equipped to do so.
And I want them to walk away knowing that they can be anything that they want to be, whether it's an educator, a doctor, a lawyer, whether it's a spiritual leader within their tribal community, whether it's running for office within their tribal government. I want these kids to be able to walk away empowered.
And students are encouraged to register in advance through the NIEA website to ensure that they can get a spot. Live in Spokane, Noah Bolter, Nonstop Local.
All right, Noah, thank you. Continuing coverage now on a story we've been following since this year's conclave, a special meeting in Vatican City.
Of course, so we know that Pope Leo XIV met with the so-called conclave kids. You remember them, those grade schoolers from Chicago. They had a mock papal election earlier this year. Well, their conclave occurred before the Vatican's conclave and went viral around the world.
And those students chose Cameron Smith. He took the name Pope Augustine. Coincidentally, Pope Leo, formerly known as Cardinal Robert Provost, led the Augustinian religious order. So yeah, we've been following this. They did, to understand the process of how a pope selected, they did it in the classroom in Chicago, and now it looks like they've made the way all the way to meet the Pope himself.
Okay. Sounds good.
Still to come here on Wake Up Nonstop Local. A one-of-a-kind Halloween decoration lighting up the night in Southwest America.
All right. By the way, speaking of decorations, we want to know, do you decorate for Halloween? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. Let us know. We'll be sharing those answers coming up.
And if you want to decorate for Halloween, today or tomorrow would be the days to do it. We have big changes in the forecast this weekend. That coming up.